Hello, here I am. Fancy seeing you here. So let's see what's coming up. We have a very special topic today. And of course we have This Day in Elvis History, Elvis Photo of the Week, which I know a lot of the ladies look forward to. Don't forget you can call me on Facebook Messenger if you want to. It's free. After the topic. Helen says it's good to see me by the pool. Well, I'm going to take a dip in that pool after the show. So, as Dixon of Dock Green used to say, evening all. I don't know whether our American friends, the members of the American Elvis family, remember or know who Dixon of Dock Green was, but he was a police officer and he always used to start off by saying, evening all. So, let's see. Hi, Angel. Hope you're feeling better. Lee, Ann Y, Jill, Maxine. Hi, Maxine. Maxine and Dave are moderating for me. Hi, Doug. They're moderating just in case anybody misbehaves. Elvis Forever says, what's up, Steve? Well, I'm doing pretty good. Arkansas Dave says, hi, Stevie. And Bossa Nova Baby says, are you going to take a dip? Yes, I'm going to take a dip at the end of the show. It wouldn't really do well to take a dip now. I'd be sitting here trying to towel off. You remember the picture of Elvis, the picture of the week on Sunday? He was wrapped in a towel, or semi-wrapped in a towel, on the location for Paradise Hawaiian Style. Hi, John. Jill. Good to see everybody here. Steve, what would you do if you surfaced and found yourself back in time and saw Elvis? I would probably faint. I've kind of said that before. People say, you know, if you met Elvis, what would you do? I would probably faint. I know I'd make an idiot of myself. I would just speak like that. You know, I wouldn't be able to say anything. So yeah, a blithering idiot and probably faint. But isn't that some thought to jump in the pool, resurface, and then look towards the house and see Elvis sat on those chairs that you can see. Hang on, let's get it right. Those chairs there. Yeah, if only we could go back to the future. No, we need to go back to the past. That's what we need to do, Dave. But, yeah, I think I actually asked that question once. If we met Elvis, what would you say to him? I think that was one of the live streams a few months ago. Hi, Paul. Helen. Yeah, we're all assembled. And if you don't mind, let's make a start. Because even with it being a Wednesday and there's no quiz, there's always a little bit to get through on a Wednesday. It's normally a little bit shorter, the show on a Wednesday. Because as I say, we don't do the quiz. And the quiz coming up on Sunday is general knowledge. You'll be happy to know that it's not name that tune or name the song. It's not A-sides or B-sides. It's not double features. You know, in other words, I normally pick 2 films and I ask 3 questions on one film and 3 questions on another. Hi, Mark. But tomorrow, Sunday, it's just general knowledge. So I'm just going to throw just general questions at you about Elvis, and hopefully you can be quick on the draw or quick on the type and win that $25 Graceland gift voucher. And we might up that 1 month to 50. See what we can do, or I might throw in a digital download or something like that, providing people are proficient enough to download because I think I do have a file with some live concerts on, or concert, and it's quite a good one. and I could always throw that in as well. I could email you the file. 3 more days till Leicester City goes down. I don't know about that, Dave. The way my team is playing at the moment, I don't think they could beat Leicester City. So it's a horrible thing to say, I know, but they are. Right, let's do this topic first of all. And you have all been very, very good, and you voted on the poll as well. I threw a poll at you on Monday, and you've voted, and then you've left comments and things like that, and we'll come to that as well after the topic. But the topic is, which was the best religious album? Which was of the 5? There was Peace in the Valley, 1957, which was an EP actually. His Hand in Mine, 1960. How Great Thou Art, 1967. You'll Never Walk Alone, 1971, which was actually a compilation album, but I'll come to that later. And He Touched Me, 1972. And there was quite a wide varying degree of opinions and so forth and comments, and it's always great to see the comments and differences of opinion. And Helen says, have faith, we have Ronaldo. Yes, well, that's a very good point actually, Helen, a very good point. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, it was 5, yeah. 57, 60, 67, 71, and 1972. Let's start with Peace in the Valley, which was an EP, as I said. It obviously wasn't a full length, sort of 12, 13 tracks. It was released in April of 1957, obviously on RCA Victor Records, in mono. It reached number 3 on the short-lived Billboard EP chart, number 3 on the album chart, and number 39 on the singles chart. So that's not bad now. That's not bad for a sacred religious album. The EP initiated Elvis's commercial presentation of this interest. In other words, it was his first gospel or religious album. The recordings included on the EP were taken from sessions on January 12th, 13th and 19th at Radio Recorders. All 4 selections are gospel classics, including 2 by Tommy Dorsey, the father of black gospel. The 4 songs were all reverential in spirit rather than celebratory, up-tempo gospel songs. 6 months after the appearance of this EP, the 4 songs issued would be added to 8 recordings of Christmas songs for his first holiday album. So actually I can list them because there's only 4. There'll be Peace in the Valley for Me, It Is No Secret What God Can Do, I Believe, and Take My Hand, Precious Lord. So I can list I won't list all the tracks of the other albums. I'll just give you highlights because I'd be I'd be here all night. But yeah, those were the 4. His Hand in Mine is the 5th studio album by Elvis, released again RCA Victor Records in mono and stereo. So there was 2 versions available, and it was released on November the 23rd, 1960. It was the first of 3 gospel music albums that Elvis would issue during his lifetime. Well, that's not correct. So I've obviously mistyped that because it's 5, isn't it? Recording sessions took place on October the 30th and 31st, 1960 at RCA Studios B in Nashville. There's actually photographs going around of Elvis arriving for this recording session, and he actually has his right hand is strapped up, his little finger is strapped to the next finger, because on October the 16th he'd actually broken his finger playing touch football at Graceland. So look out for those photographs. It's photographs in front of the Greyhound bus that they hired, rented, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, to get from Memphis to Nashville. And as I say, you can see his finger strapped. It peaked, this did quite well. It peaked at number 13 on the top pop albums chart. It was certified gold on April 9th, 1969, and platinum on March the 27th, 1992 by the Recording Industry Association of America. That's the RIAA. That's what I'll call it from now on. I don't want to be saying Recording Industry Association of America every time. All the selections for His Hand in Mine were completed in one 14-hour session. Now, just think about that for a minute. One 14-hour session. And it began at 6:30 p.m., Sunday the 30th of October, 1960. Elvis and the band started the session recording Milky White Way. Wow, what a song. Milky White Way. And finished at 8 a.m. the following morning with 5 quick takes of Working on the Building. The songs Surrender and Crying in the Chapel were recorded during this session, but were withheld for issue as singles. Just think, a whole album plus 2 singles in one night. I know artists now that spend months and months and months just recording one single, or one album. Months and months and months and months. But we've got a whole sacred album and 2 singles in one 14-hour session. And there you are. This fit well with the plans for Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, to steer his client into a family-friendly image as he switched Elvis's career concentration towards movie stardom in Hollywood. So, from that comment, you'd almost think that, we know he was actually. Colonel Parker was trying to kind of clean up Elvis's image to a certain extent. He didn't want the backlash and everything that had happened, over, we were actually discussing it on Sunday, weren't we? Over, Milton Berle and, Ed Sullivan to a certain extent. Some of the first Ed Sullivan shows were a little bit, as well. A few highlights on His Hand in Mine is, of course, the title track, His Hand in Mine, Milky White Way. Everybody knows what I think about Milky White Way. It's one of my favorites religious songs of Elvis. I Believe in the Man in the Sky. Again, fantastic. Swing Down, Sweet Chariot, which he actually re-recorded, didn't he, for The Trouble with Girls. There's a few here that, Elvis adapted. One of them was In My Father's House. Another one was Milky White Way. He adapted that. He also, Joshua Fit the Battle, arranged and adapted by Elvis Presley. Swing Down Sweet Chariot also says traditional and arranged by Elvis and adapted by Elvis. And Working on the Building, as I mentioned as well. RCA first issued the original 12-track album on compact disc in 1990, utilizing the revised cover art from the Pure Gold Series LP release. So that's the second album discussed. He Knows Just What I Need is one of my very favorites. Yeah, I didn't mention that, but it's... I'm trying to get away from saying they're all good, because I know they're all good, but... there are outstanding ones as well. How Great Thou Art. How Great Thou Art is the 9th studio album by Elvis, released by RCA Victor in mono and stereo. You'd have thought they would have dropped mono by 1967, wouldn't you? In 1967, February 1967, it was released. Recording sessions took place at good old RCA Studio B on May the 25th, 26th, 27th and 28th, 1966. Its performance on the charts, it peaked at number 18 on the Top Pop Albums chart. It was certified gold on February 16th, 1968, platinum and 2 times platinum on March 27th, 1992, and 3 times platinum on October 13th, 2010 by the RIAA. So to this day, it's still selling in huge quantities. 10 years ago, it was certified 3 times platinum. Absolutely amazing. Amazing. The title song won the 1967 Grammy Award for Best Sacred Performance. One of the 3 Grammys that Elvis won. His previous costume... what? Yeah. Okay. I'll start that again. His previous gospel album, His Hand in Mine, had been a solid catalogue seller for RCA, While Elvis faced difficulty getting radio airplay in the mid-1960s, during that decade, radio stations played Christmas music at Christmas time and religious music at Easter. And his manager, Parker, was convinced that Elvis could break through in these niche markets, so recording sessions were arranged for the purpose of producing a Christmas single and a follow-up LP to His Hand in Mine. So that was the thinking behind How Great Thou Art. How Great Thou Art would in fact be Elvis's first non-soundtrack album recording of his new material since Potluck in 1962, and his first album release not to include any soundtrack recording since his previous gospel album, His Hand in Mine. It also introduced producer Felton Jarvis to Elvis on the singer's second non-soundtrack sessions since May 1963, and Felton would continue to work with Elvis for the remainder of his career. The church and its steeple featured on the cover is that of the First Church of Christ located in Sandwich, Massachusetts. So if you're ever, or you live near Sandwich, Massachusetts, you can actually see the, I should be showing you some of these, actually, shouldn't I? Where are we now? Let's have a look. I've got, there you go. So that's what that church is in Sandwich, Massachusetts. And of course, I forgot to show you this when I was talking about His Hand in Mine. Fabulous. And also the cover of Peace in the Valley. There's a big difference there between that cover and his hair and that cover there. It's only like 3-4 years. And then How Great Thou Art. As for the sessions as the album progressed, Elvis rejected many of the planned songs for which Freddie Beanstalk of Hill and Range had obtained publishing deals, and began picking his favourites of his and the band. The 5 songs in the public domain were credited as arranged by Elvis Presley and published by Elvis Presley Music, allowing Beanstalk to secure the royalties for those selections. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's look at maybe some of the highlights. Again, How Great Thou Art, Somebody Bigger Than You and I, Farther Along, traditional, arranged by Elvis Presley, Stand By Me, yes, Stand By Me. Huge, huge vocal performance by Elvis. Hairs on the back of the neck standing up for Stand By Me, and again, traditional, arranged by Elvis Presley. So High, again arranged by Elvis Presley. Where Could I Go But to the Lord, which made a reappearance on the 1968 NBC television special. Run On, Where No One Stands Alone, and of course Crying in the Chapel, although that wasn't actually used until later. No, it was used later. I'm sorry, it was recorded at the 1960s, His Hand in Mine. It was used on... It was also used as a single as well. Now, the next one is this one, You'll Never Walk Alone. It's a compilation album released in 1971 by RCA and RCA Camden budget label. The album contains primarily previously released gospel recordings dating back as far as 1957, plus 2 unissued tracks. The album reached 69 on the Billboard 200 chart and number 20 on the UK chart, so it performed a lot better in the UK. You'll Never Walk Alone was first issued on compact disc in 1987 on the RCA Camden label. RCA reissued the album on CD a second time in 2006, along with most of Elvis's other RCA Camden budget albums. Now, listen to this. The album was certified gold on March 27th, 1992, platinum on July 15th, 1999, and 3 times platinum on January the 6th, 2004 by the RIAA. So again, another very, very popular gospel album. The track listing shows the songs as they appeared on the second CD reissue of the album in 2006. The original 1971 LP omitted Swing Down Sweet Chariot, taken from the 1960 album His Hand in Mine, though this track was included in the UK release. So let's have a look. It starts off with "You'll Never Walk Alone." Great song. We know the vocal performance that Elvis put in that. And we also have "Who Am I? Let Us Pray" from "Change of Habit." Then "There'll Be Peace in the Valley" for me. That one is the one that was mentioned. That was from January 13th, 1957. "We Call on Him." "I Believe It Is No Secret What God Can Do." "Sing You Children" from "Easy Come, Easy Go." "Take My Hand, Precious Lord." That's another one from 1956. And "Swing Down, Sweet Chariot," UK edition only. Then we round this off with "He Touched Me." It's his 17th studio album, released on April the 1st, 1972. It was his third and final studio gospel album and the most contemporary of the three. "He Touched Me" was certified gold on March 27th, 1992 and platinum on July 15th, 1999 by the RIAA. And primarily, this album came from sessions in May and June of 1971, but there was one that came from March 15th, 1971, and that's "Amazing Grace." So there was obviously the title track, "He Touched Me." "I've Got Confidence," that's a great song. "Amazing Grace," "He Is My Everything," "Bosom of Abraham," we know all about that. He was seen singing that in Elvis on tour, had a great time singing that. "Lead Me, Guide Me," that's another one. "I, John," another one shown in Elvis on tour, as was "Lead Me, Guide Me," and "Reach Out to Jesus." So, going through those five, we have a poll. I didn't show you that, did I? There's the album cover for "He Touched Me." Beautiful, beautiful photograph of Elvis. Love it. So, coming up is "This Day in Elvis History." I'm going to say that I wasn't surprised again by the result of the poll, which is your favorite Elvis religious album, but I was again surprised at how little some of the albums got votes. And I'm going to bring it up now for you. And again, just a tad over half the votes was "How Great Thou Art." And I'd probably agree with that. If I was asked to vote on those five, I would have picked "How Great Thou Art." Let's have a little... Hi, who's calling Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel?
It's Mark.
Hi, Mark. Always good to hear from you.
Yeah, how you doing? Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. What do you think of Elvis's religious albums?
Well, my favourite out of all of them, even though they are all fantastic, I would say "How Great Thou Art."
Yeah. Well, that got over 51% of the votes, as you probably just saw on the screen there. Actually.
Yeah, great album. What I liked about the album as well, side one was quite slow. The ballads, you flicked it over to side two, and it was a little bit more up tempo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I liked as well.
I think that was obviously done deliberately. Whoever
I think so. Yeah.
But by 1967, they were putting more thought into tracking albums, weren't they, and the layouts and so forth. They knew that they could split it up into an up tempo and then the slower ones and then an up tempo. So
tempo, and what I liked about it, obviously, as well, around that time, he needed to do a really good album, didn't he? Because obviously the movie soundtracks were getting a bit thin. He needed to get down and do a great album, and I think "How Great Thou Art" was a great album for him to do.
Well, I've always thought that "How Great Thou Art" was the beginning of the end for the movies and the movie soundtracks. Anyway, it was definitely a signal that he was shifting away.
Took him away from that, didn't it?
Yeah. So sort of 1966, 1967. I think him and the Colonel knew that the game was up as far as the movies were concerned, and after that, they were just fulfilling the movie contracts. But he by all accounts, when he went in to do these sessions, just like I suppose when he did any gospel sessions, he was very, very up for it and he put a lot of a lot of energy in it. If you listen to the outtakes of
I've got all the outtakes.
And the outtakes from 1960 when he's doing Milky White Way and things like that, you can just tell he's up for it and he wants to. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, great. And He Touched Me as well. A great album. Some great songs, and I believe most of them were Imperial songs. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Mark. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And you, mate. Take care.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you in a few minutes which is my favorite religious, gospel, whatever you want to call it, sacred song is. I was saying that if I had to vote, it would be How Great Thou Art that I would have voted for as well. Hello.
Hello, Steve. It's Duncan.
Duncan. Always a pleasure to hear you on the line.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really, really well, thanks.
Yeah, so Elvis gospel albums.
Yeah.
Again, as Mark said, love them all. They're all great. I would because there's such a sincerity in his voice in every gospel song that he recorded, I think. And such power in every performance. I would probably lean towards How Great Thou Art as an album.
Okay. And would it be the title song as well, or is there a song on that album that you would pick?
I think the title song is the level of vocal control that he's got on that track, the emotion, the sincerity makes it amazing. I remember reading years ago that at the time when you recorded it, that the people on the other side of the glass in the recording studio were in tears.
Yeah, well,
as he recorded it.
I can believe that.
And listening to it, I can imagine that being the case.
Yeah.
If you were actually in there, how electric the atmosphere must have been. But as a whole album, it flows beautifully as an album.
It does.
Again, what Mark said about the first side and the second side, but it all hangs together as an album in the way that not every one of them does, I guess. And it's uncluttered. The arrangements are uncluttered, and it allows his vocal to stand, which when we listen to a lot of the undubbed stuff, we realise what we're hearing, if that makes sense, whereas How Great Thou Art doesn't seem to be overproduced.
Yeah, I mean, this is the very, very, very early days of Felton Jarvis, and he was still kind of unsure, of his role and how to sort of handle what he was getting into. And when he got into the 70s, he kind of went, I often thought he always went a little bit overboard with some of the overdubbing. Yes. Yeah, that's what I think anyway.
I think so. Other albums like His Hand in Mine are great. I think I prefer some of the arrangements on How Great Thou Art in terms of how it flows as an album. He Touched Me is a favourite. I love 70s Elvis. I love all Elvis, as we all do, but given my age, I've got a hankering for 70s Elvis. But there's some really good tracks on He Touched Me. He Touched Me being one of them.
Yeah.
But I think it's as an album, it's maybe a little bit more of a random selection, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well,
some great tracks
a little bit like You'll Never Walk Alone as well. With it being a compilation album, you've got a few thrown in there from 1957. Yes. But again, it sold well, I
actually think when you listen to You'll Never Walk Alone, for a Camden album, it's when you think it's what of some of the other Camden albums that came out, it actually hangs together as an album an awful lot better.
Yeah,
than many of them.
I agree.
If you take Burning Love and hits from his movies as an example,
yeah. So, some of the covers weren't that great either around that time.
No,
Separate Ways is another one, which is an awful cover, I think.
Yes. Absolutely. I think some of the other tracks, the other gospel tracks that kind of seeped out onto other albums, like a couple of I've got a Feeling in My Body, for example, from Good Times.
Yeah.
If that isn't love,
Yeah.
talk about the good times.
Yeah.
It's almost as if there's almost an album's worth of gospel tracks that didn't make it onto gospel albums, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I've often thought that.
And again, they're really good.
Yeah.
And you mentioned On Tour earlier.
Yeah.
I often wonder when we see him just sitting there jamming with the Stamps and JD, etc. I often wonder what might have been possible in terms of a full live album of gospel. Just gospel jamming, because we know that he did that before concerts, and he found it as a way to relax, etc. I just wonder how amazing would it be if there was recordings of a whole lot of stuff beyond what we've already seen, or what we could have had somebody flipped a switch and recorded some of these impromptu gospel jam sessions.
I mean, there was rumours that in 1978 he was going to do a gospel tour with J.D. Sumner and the Stamps Quartet. Wouldn't that have been something?
Would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Would have been amazing.
Yeah, yeah. What was the other one that he was on Promised Land?
Help Me.
Yes, Help Me. Of course,
yes.
that would have fit perfectly.
I love that too.
Yeah, that would have fit perfectly in a gospel album. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's quite, even Love Letters, you've got Life and Only Believe.
Yeah.
Tucked away in Love Letters from Elvis.
Exactly. They'd all fall under that umbrella.
So again, there's opportunities there. Almost a gospel album out with a gospel album, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, Duncan, that's great. Great call. Thanks very much indeed.
Speak to you again,
all right,
Steve.
speak to you again.
All the best. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Some interesting points there from Duncan. Let me just throw that poll back up again and say what I was going to say. I'm surprised that his Hand in Mine didn't get more votes, especially as there was a lot of comments saying that they'd voted for his Hand in Mine, Milky White Way, and the title track and so forth. I'm not surprised about the Peace in the Valley, especially with it only being an EP as well. Hi, Maxine.
Hello.
How are you keeping?
I'm doing good, thank you. And yourself?
And you're doing a great job on the modding, you and Dave.
Oh, thank you.
So what have you got to say today?
I think all of his gospel albums are brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't listened to them all, but most of them are brilliant.
Which ones haven't you heard? Just I'm curious.
I've heard His Hand in Mine.
Yeah.
I haven't heard He Touched Me.
Well, that's one of the ones that only got sort of 14%. I'd say it's one of the lesser known of the 5. And I was just saying as you rang there, Peace in the Valley only got 5%. But then again, it was only an EP. It wasn't a full-blown album, so there's not that many tracks to choose from. That's the thing.
That would have been a good album, though.
Yeah. 51%, How Great Thou Art. Not surprising, really, I suppose.
No, that is a brilliant one. I will admit that.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you at the end of the show which was my favourite of all his religious songs.
I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah.
But on... Oh, sorry, go on, you go.
No, you go.
I was going to say, on You'll Never Walk Alone, have you heard the one where Lisa Marie does it with him?
Yes, I've heard that one.
Oh, that is brilliant.
And she also does Where No One Stands Alone as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's the other one. I love that song.
Makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end, doesn't it?
It does, truly. but as Duncan was saying, I think a live gospel album would have been incredible.
Yeah, and as I say, there was rumours that he was going to do a gospel tour with J.D. Sumner and the Stamps Quartet in 1978, but unfortunately it just...
it didn't work out.
Didn't work out, exactly.
If only he took a year off.
Yeah, he definitely needed the rest, didn't he?
He did.
Banjo Paul says Milky White Way, surely, Steve. People are starting to try and guess what my favourite song is. Well, Milky White Way is up there, but I'm not going to say whether it is it or not until near the end. Okay.
I tell you what is another good song is Hurt. I think that would have been a good one on one of his albums.
Yeah. Although... I don't suppose it would fall under the umbrella of like Help Me would fall into the category of sort of a religious or gospel song, but Hurt, I suppose it could have worked. It could have worked.
If he'd have done it more gospelly.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Okay. Thanks, Maxine.
All right, and Steve.
Take care of
That's
yourself.
all right, thanks.
Okay,
Oh,
bye.
you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. You'll Never Walk Alone. I think you can see where this is going. And what I was going to do was I was going to actually read out some of your comments that you left on the poll. Paul says, Elvis sings gospel music better than anyone else. Elvis is the best. Can't argue with that. Loretta says, I must admit I tend to prefer Elvis's maturer voice singing gospel, so I voted for He Touched Me. There you go. She was one of the 17%, although they're all great in their own way. Yeah, well, we've said that actually. Doug Dickerson. Hi, Doug. Good to see you. This was the hardest for me. Yeah, now, a lot of people have said that this was a really, really hard poll, and I'm always trying to make them a little bit difficult, a little bit just to make you think and think, I don't like to just put one that's so easy you can just say, bang, and vote for it. So I like it when somebody says it was a hard one. Some of my favourite songs are on several albums. In the end, Doug chose How Great Thou Art over You'll Never Walk Alone. So Doug's second choice would have been You'll Never Walk Alone. And I own the original vinyl of the album as well. I love Peace in the Valley album, but it only has 4 songs. Well, that's what I was saying earlier on. Maybe that's the reason why it only got a very, very small percentage. In fact, the smallest. My all-time favourite song on that is Take My Hand, Precious Lord, so that's good too. But Where No One Stands Alone, which is my favourite, and several others are on How Great Thou Art, so I went with it. So he's telling us why he voted for How Great Thou Art. Danny S., I love Peace in the Valley. I'm glad it was one of his first few songs that he performed on TV. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Alan Kinsey says, in 1960, Elvis's voice was at his very best. His Hand in Mine is him at his finest, in my opinion. And the fact that he was recording a gospel album, which he loved singing. Yeah, as I was saying earlier on to a caller, you could tell just by hearing the outtakes from the gospel sessions just how much he was into it and how much he was enjoying it. He was really, really engaged. And it was probably just like him being at home and singing with the guys. Mrs. E.P. Elaine says, very difficult to choose, Steve. Somebody else saying it was a difficult poll. Love Elvis's gospel albums. No one better than him. Sung with love and heartfelt feeling. She doesn't say who she or what album she voted for. Maybe she couldn't vote because it was that difficult. Paul Andrew says He Touched Me because it sounds more contemporary. And we'll finish with Jeanette. Hi, Jeanette. Nope, not going to vote. It's like a parent choosing a favourite child. All of Elvis's gospel albums are gems. Thanks, Jeanette. It's a very good point. A very, very, very good point. We're going to do Elvis history in a second, but I've got a couple of photographs to show you. Our friend Danny B-Side has a new tattoo, and he wanted me to show it to you. So what does everybody think of Danny's tattoo? That's from 1972, Elvis on tour, I think, isn't it? And it's lovely the way the Elvis's name is picked out in sort of lights, just like on the sort of the titles of Elvis on tour. So, Anne Y says, I agree, Jeanette. Yes, it's impossible to pick one. Well, I had to pick one, and it was a difficult. So there's Danny's tattoo. It was a difficult one, but I did go with How Great Thou Art, and I'm going to tell you what my favourite song from all those 5 albums are in a second. But let's do This Day in Elvis History first of all. Or shall... I tell you what, we'll do This Day in Elvis History and then Pick of the Week. Ladies, stand by. Helen says, wow, amazing tattoo. Yeah, that's not mine tattoo. That's Danny's. That's Danny B-Sides. Okay. On this day in 1954, Elvis, Scotty and Bill played the Eagle's Nest in Memphis, a nightclub over the changing room at the Clear Pool Complex. And there is Elvis at the Eagle's Nest. Now, I don't for a minute think that is October the 13th. It's just a generic picture taken at the Eagle's Nest. And there's another one as well, actually. Looks to be on the same day because I think he's wearing the same jacket, isn't he? Yeah, same jacket and shirt. And pants. You have a look. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So, 1955, Elvis performed at the Municipal Auditorium, Amarillo, Texas. There was an advertisement referring to Elvis as the king of Western bop, but also stated that his way of dressing had nothing to do with Western style. They called him a cool cat. And we have some photographs here of Amarillo. Look at the way she's looking at him. Yeah. And that's a cute one. Look at all the girls around him and all the fellas as well. And I would imagine that those photographs were probably supplied to them so as they could get them autographed. Elvis, 1956, on this day in 1956, Elvis performed at the Coliseum, Houston, Texas twice. First at 4 p.m. and later at 9 p.m. The crowd were warned to sit down by Oscar Davis, the Colonel's advance man. Just remember, it might be your kid that gets trampled. So they didn't want anybody rushing the stage and so forth. I've got photographs of Houston. Not too sure what he's doing there. He's kind of snarling, isn't he? Probably doing hound dog. Something like that. There's a side view. So that was this day in Houston, Texas. 1963, Elvis and the rest of the cast and crew traveled about 100 miles east of Los Angeles to the town of Big Bear in the mountains for shooting Kissing Cousins. And just for the heck of it, there's a promotional still from Kissing Cousins. 1968, Elvis flew to Los Angeles with Priscilla and Lisa Marie. Now, the one you've all been waiting for. Pick of the week. And actually, Danny B-side is rearing his head again because Danny sent this one to me and he suggested it as pick of the week. So there you go. That is from 1956. And I hope that you all enjoy that. Joey Johnson, when is the biopic coming out? It's coming out in June 2022. I almost said 1922 then. So yeah, we've got to wait another few months, haven't we? 6, 7, 8, 9 months maybe. Yeah, 9 months. Let's hope it'll be worth watching. I need a cold shower, Steve. Maybe I'll get my blood pressure up. Yes. Well, look at pictures like that of Elvis, and hopefully your blood pressure will go up. Because that's what we need. Most people need to bring their blood pressure down, but Angel needs to bring her blood pressure up. And Jill loves that one. Let's see what other comments are coming in. Jill says, OMG, I love that one. Lovely picture of Elvis. Well chosen, Danny B-side. I agree. Yeah, he was a good choice. And I think I said on Sunday, if people want to email me, they can send in what they think could be a good pick of the week to Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel at gmail.com. It's shown on the screen now, actually. So you can do that. Or you can send them to me on Messenger or anything like that. So that was pick of the week, courtesy of Danny B-side. I better take that off before people have a seizure. I want to show you something else as well. A friend of mine, Johnny Earl, sent me a copy of his new CD. Now, obviously, I know he's not Elvis, but he's a big Elvis fan. He's done the rounds. He does Elvis songs as well. Johnny Earl, and it's his new CD called Where You Been Rocking Tonight, and he's asked me to tell you that it's available on www.bluesuededreams.com if you're interested in getting Johnny's new CD, Johnny Earl. Okay, just as a favor, I said I'd mention that for him. He's a big fan of the show as well. And as I say, www.bluesuededreams.com. That's Johnny's latest CD. I think I've covered it all. I didn't tell you what my favorite track, song that Elvis sang, gospel song, religious song, out of all of them. And it was a tough decision. I thought at one point it was going to be Milky White Way, as Paul said, but it's Stand By Me. Stand By Me just edged it. So if you're not familiar with that track, I'm sure you are, but if not, it's on the How Great Thou Art album. And also there's alternate takes and things like that as well available. And some of them are just perfect. I don't know why they didn't stop and say, right, that's it, let's release that one. But yeah, as we know, Elvis was a perfectionist, and he probably just loved singing it and thought, I'll give it another go. Maxine says, ooh, he's handsome. Yes, he is. He certainly is. And you know, when you look at these covers as well, I mean, how good did he look in 1960? Fantastic. And You'll Never Walk Alone, I thought his hair was very, very long around about that time. It's a little bit like the hair on Separate Ways as well. So there you are. So I hope I haven't missed anything out. As I said, the quiz on Sunday is general knowledge. So it doesn't really favor anybody, you know. I mean, if somebody is good at the films, or if they're good at A-side, B-sides, if they're good at stuff like that, or lyrics, it's not really going to favor anybody because it's general knowledge. So I thought of 6 sort of all-encompassing questions. It's been great fun again, and I hope you can join me live on Sunday for another show. Obviously, as I just mentioned, Elvis Fan of the Month quiz, Song of the Week. I don't do Song of the Week on a Wednesday, but I do a Song of the Week on a Sunday. Again, another This Day in Elvis History. That'll be interesting. A lot happened in October this kind of coming week. I'll do another photo of the week. If anybody wants to send me a photo of the week, I'll think about choosing one. And plus there'll be a brand new Elvis topic on Sunday as well. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee by using the link below. Please look after yourselves, and I'll see you Sunday.